this edition of Alabama Adventures, Getting Close to Bigfoot. Tonight we're going to do something a little bit different than what we have normally been doing in our videos. Uh, what we've got tonight is a telephone conversation with a young man from North Alabama, and let me just add that North Alabama is becoming a very hot spot for Bigfoot. We have had numerous reports. Of course, it has always been known for the Alabama white thing that is in northern Alabama, and we've also begun to get reports on just regular Bigfoot. Not to say that Bigfoot are regular by any means, but we've been getting reports on all type Bigfoot up that way. And a while back, we had this young man to email us and tell us of a encounter that he had had on a Bigfoot expedition that he and some friends had put together. And I kept in contact with him, and he went on another expedition. And as usual, when you're beginning to search for Bigfoot and you get interested in him and you try to go out and do a good search, everything seems to go wrong. And that's kind of what happened to this group. They had several things to go wrong on the weekend that they went on their expedition or their search, whatever you want to call it. And but they learned a lot from it, and they had a good time. They did encounter Bigfoot. And what I have is a telephone conversation that after I found out, after he emailed me the second time, telling me what happened in February of 2015, I told him that I thought it would be good if we recorded that and made an Alabama adventure out of it, so other people that are getting interested in searching for Bigfoot could not only learn from their mistakes, can learn from the many mistakes that I've made over the years. All of my Bigfoot investigation has just been trial and error, and that's how I have come as close to them as I have come. And if you watched our video on Bigfoot signs in Clay County, you'll see how close I did come. I didn't know just how close I was to Bigfoot until several of you pointed out in the video where this group or family of Bigfoot that I just accidentally walked up on were. And the reason I didn't see them is, of course, all of you know that I have had a lot of eye surgery and I still have a lot of blurry vision. And maybe that was one reason that Bigfoot let me get so close to him. He knew I couldn't see him anyway. So you've got to be about blind if you can't see a Bigfoot. But anyway, what I want you to do is to listen to the conversation between myself, Dorothy, and I won't give the young man's name. I'm not sure that he wants that revealed just yet. But he is doing a lot of Bigfoot work in North Alabama right now, and we may refer some cases to him as we get reports up there, because it is a long way from where we live up to the Tennessee line. And not that I'm saying that he was on the Tennessee line now, but when you get in North Alabama, you're headed toward Tennessee. So anyway, there's a lot of Bigfoot, not only Bigfoot activity up there, but there's a lot of other stuff along with Bigfoot going on that we've had numerous reports from the Lake Gunnersville area. So if you're in that area and you're encountering anything up there, we would like to hear about it. Bigfoot, ghosts, UFOs. We've even had a report of a lake monster in Lake Gunnersville. So if you've ever heard of that, I would appreciate you contacting us, letting us know what you heard so we can compare notes with what we have on other reports from up that way. Anyway, I want you to listen to this phone conversation, and I'm sure that you will enjoy it.
So to just tell what happened, and I'll just be quiet, and everybody else will tonight, and we can get you recorded of what happened on your Bigfoot investigation. Okay.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. Well, what I'll do is I'll start off with.
Give us a little history of your Bigfoot experiences.
Yeah.
How you got started.
How you kind of got going in it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, it dates back to when I was probably preteen, maybe 11, 12. Up into my teens, I lived in the north part of Limestone County in Alabama, and there were several sightings of the white thing. I mean, that's just what everybody called it, and of course everybody knows exactly what that is. And on several occasions in a wooded area close to where I grew up there, during the summer, all of us kids, we pretty much hung out in those woods during the summertime, and the first run-in that we had all done an overnight camping trip, and we were just fishing, and we heard a loud woman scream, and then we heard a tree actually being pushed over. Now, at the time, I had no experience with Bigfoot, and we just had heard of the sightings and took what they were, and that was kind of the introductory for us. And when I say us, myself and some friends, that was the first time we'd ever experienced anything, and we knew that there was nobody in these woods, and for something to push a tree over, and when I say a tree, probably 10-inch around diameter pine tree, and it was not dead, it was still alive. So it got pushed over with some force.
Yeah, it had to be powerful.
Yes, it was very, very, very powerful. And the second run-in, which is in the same area that I had, was one day a friend of mine and we went fishing down this creek, and it was an access road, a dirt road to get to it, but you had to walk a path to get to the good fishing spots. And as you walk down this path, it kind of bent back to where you couldn't see the road, and then it went on off into a really wooded area. And he and I were a good ways back off the road, and we heard what we thought was coyotes running in the woods because we could hear the yelping and the crying. We thought it was coyotes or dogs, and we both kind of freaked out because we thought, coyotes, we'd never had a run-in with them. But then we heard them start to fight. And as they started to fight, we just kind of stopped and waited for all the commotion to go on, and it all got real quiet. So, and I would say in a matter of probably 30 to 45 minutes of just silence in the woods, we decided to make our way back to the road to get our bicycles. And as we went out, there were bits and pieces of dog or coyote, whatever, everywhere. That just kind of really freaked us out. So we just went on and got on our way, and just kind of went. And of course, as we grew older, we never did go back over there. It was kind of the first two things that got me really interested into the Bigfoot. And then I searched for information. And as the years went by, I kind of got out of touch with it, with the family. But in the last 10 years, I've kind of gotten back into it. And I've done some investigations, myself with other people that believe, because it's really hard to convince somebody who don't believe to go with you.
Right.
And,
And
of course, if you take people who believe with you, you'll have some experience. And if you take people that don't believe, nothing will happen.
Nothing's going to
happen.
And
then it makes you look more. Right. Makes you look more crazy, is what it does. Is what one guy told me. But I've investigated. I'm at the foot of Green Mountain in the Big Cove area, and I've investigated there and different places. And I got with the place that what we're going to talk about tonight. I was introduced to this place by a guy from Tupelo who was a Bigfoot investigator, and I explained to him that I was real novice, but I wasn't naive. I knew a lot of the, I had read a lot of the evidence and a lot of the tendencies and the things, so I knew I wasn't going out here just with no knowledge whatsoever. I could decipher between what I was looking for, what I was listening for.
Right.
And this was about 5 years ago when we actually went to this place, and when we got there, we all arrived late. So this was on a Friday night. Saturday morning when we got up, he wanted to take me to where we were going to do our night investigation. And this is the story with the call from across the lake But I will tell it anyway again too. We had driven around this area, like it says in Franklin County. We had driven around this area during the day. This guy had made a recording maybe a year before, and he wanted to go back to the same place that he went back to. We did go back there during the day, but had no luck. But that night, this area has a lot of man-made lakes, and he wanted to do some calls out across these man-made lakes because sound would travel much further. And after he made a few calls, we got a response from the other side of the lake. And in this area, to get from one side of the lake to the other, you have to travel all the way out to the main road and come back in. So it took us 30 to 45 minutes just to get from spot A to spot B. And this was, as we were driving down the street, this road led us to a boat ramp, a public access boat ramp. And when we got to that boat ramp, there was, he made a few calls, but of course there was no response back. And we stayed there probably a good hour, and we were ready to leave to go back to camp. It's probably 2 o'clock in the morning. We noticed that there was some firewood stacked up down beside a cedar tree, and he said, let's grab that and take back to camp with us, get a good fire before we turn in.
Right.
So we all started to get handfuls of the firewood, and I was the last to get wood, so I was the last to make it to the back of the truck to put it in. And as I made it to the back of the truck, I would say a distance, I'm going to say about 25 feet from the back of the truck to the edge of the wood line. That's when I heard something. It made a vocalization to me that was just, jibber jabber. It was just blah, 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 that type sound, but it was deep, and it vibrated my body. That's the reason why I can remember it so vividly, is because it was just not something, if somebody did it, if there was a person there, this vibrated my body. And it really shook me up. It really scared me. And I told those guys, I said, please come up here. And I told them what happened, and they scanned their area, shined their lights. We all did, and of course we saw nothing. And we continued to search, and we said, well, they can't say what it was, so let's just finish getting the wood. We all made a trip back down. The second time that I came to the back of the truck, it did it to me again. And this time, I told him, I said, it's still here. It's still there. So as we started to shine, they started to shine lights. The main guy that was from Tupelo, he decided he was going to actually try to step into the woods. And we did see a figure tree picking a little bit, and it was a good distance away. I'm going to say probably 50 yards from where we were at. And with the flashlights that we had, it wasn't picking it up good, but you could see something, that dark silhouette moving.
Yeah.
After maybe 5 minutes of that, it decided to just turn around and walk away. And as it did, we still couldn't see it, but we could hear the heavy footfalls, the limbs crashing as it made its way away from us. And at that time, there was a slough that was back in there that we didn't know about. This flock of Canadian geese came unglued. That's all I can say. They just decided, hey, we don't want no part of this. So at 3 o'clock in the morning, they just decided, that they were just going to relocate from where they were at to somewhere else.
Yeah.
So, whatever it was, it was not us, because we were so far away from that slough. It didn't detect us. We didn't scare those geese. Whatever that was what scared those geese.
Something else, yeah.
Yeah, and we concluded that investigation, and we went back to the place that we were staying, and we were because we were up so late, we were kind of lethargic the next day. Just taking our time, packing everything up, because we all had to work on Monday. But as we were doing that, we heard tree knocking just right there where we were at, real close. And it was a response. There was a series of 3 knocks on, and I'm just going to say there was a series of 3 knocks on the right-hand side, followed by, not immediately, but within 45 seconds, a response of 2 knocks on the left-hand side.
Mm-hmm.
And then another 45 seconds, a response with 1. And that was all we heard. And, you know, we just we all looked at each other, and the guy said, we should plan to come back here. This is where we should come back.
Yeah.
And that was the introduction to the area that we investigated, you know, in February.
Yeah, okay.
And the investigation that we had in February was we just decided that I had a couple of guys that were interested, and they said, hey, can you take us on an investigation, because I've been telling them this exact same story.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, we'll plan a trip to go there. Well, as we went to that investigation, I mean, we did have a few little minor setbacks. I mean, the blowout on the camper set us back a little bit. And then, of course, when we got to where we were going to stay, we found out that place was closed.
Mm-hmm.
And I got permission through the guy that runs that particular campground. He said it would be perfectly fine for us to just stay right there on the road where we were going to investigate. Now, he had no idea that, you know, what we were doing, but he was fine with it. And what happens, to give you a little, I mean, you have to use your imagination, but it is a paved road for, I'm going to say, 500 yards. And the paved road takes a right and goes into the campground, and then it's, you know, of course, all paved. That same road, as if you don't take the right, that same road turns straight into an old gravel road that goes for about 1.5 miles. I'm guesstimating between 1.5 miles and 2 miles, all the way back to the lake. And I mean, it's a traveled road, because it's not, you know, you can see where vehicles have traveled it and made muddy ruts. But pretty much it has you know, wooded areas on both sides.
Yeah.
And I sent those guys. I Googled Earth, the location, and as I Googled it, or I pulled up the picture, I told them to make notice that there, other than the campground, there is probably only 2 houses within, I'm going to say, 5 square miles of where we're at.
Mm.
So I told them, I said, I want you to make sure you look at this so you know that we are alone out here.
Big place, big.
Yeah, it's a really big place, and I still have those saved in my phone. I'll make an attachment and send you guys an email of that.
Okay.
So that you can scan it and take a look at it. Now, as we got there, I'm going to say this was Saturday, probably around 2:00. As we got there, we just decided this is where we were going to camp. And I told the guys, I said, you know, I had prepped them, and I said, you know, it's been a while since I've been here. I said, I want y'all to get it in your minds that we're not just going to walk down this road and something's going to walk out in front of us, and we're going to take, you know, clear pictures and videos of the whole entire thing. So we decided that what we would do is I was going to walk them down this road, and we were going to look for, you know, tree breaks, tree bends, possible areas where Bigfoot has been crossing this road. We were also going to check this, you know, the soil where it was at. And probably within maybe, I'm going to say 500 yards of us walking, we did find a creek that ran all the way down to the lake. And this lake is pretty much dry during the winter time, because it's also part of that man-made reservoir. So it floods. They'll raise the water level up during the summer or spring when activity is going on there. I told them, I said, we should search this creek, because this is probably one of the only freshwater sources. Let's just walk down. We stepped off to the right and followed the creek all the way down to the lake. Now, this is, as we were walking, of course, this is where we ran into the first print that we saw. There was a couple of flat rocks, and what it looked like is that something had stepped, and this is my interpretation, it had tried to step on the flat rock to not leave any impression in the sandy soil. But the heel part missed the rock, and it did have sand on the front part of its foot because you could see where the heel was and just the sand part on top of the flat rock. And there was no other debris or anything on that rock other than that. And, of course, it wouldn't be a true measurement of the print, but we did measure it at 17 inches long, 4.5 inches wide. That's what we measured that particular print as.
Was that the heel or the toe?
Well,
that was
the heel. The heel part. What we measured from the heel to the far tip of where the sand stopped, and that was 17 inches in length. Right. From the heel and where it actually the sand hit on the front of the flat rock, we measured that sand part and it was 4.5 inches wide. Yeah. It was not a clear impression of you could see no. Yeah, you could. Yeah, you couldn't see definition of toes or you couldn't see anything. It's just that when you saw that what looked like a heel print, it wasn't just the heel part. There was probably I'm gonna guesstimate the heel and probably 3 inches on each side.
Yeah. Okay.
And then your missing part where it's actually, I guess, hitting the rock, and then the remaining part it was probably 6 inches. I'm going to say 5 to 6 inches of sandy soil on the rock. So there's about 4 inches of the print that's actually missing, and I mean you can take that into account of that's just space there in between heel hitting the ground and foot being on the rock, and there's nothing in between that particular point. But the widest part that we measured, I guess, if you had a clear cast, it would probably be right where the toes start to extend from the foot.
Right. Okay.
I'm going to say that's probably where it is. So it's about 4.5 inches wide. That's my interpretation. And it's clearly a guess. We did find, walking down that creek, we did find other impressions.
Okay.
That in some of the moss close to the creek, but no. I mean, sometimes you see what you want to see. Sometimes you can, So we just said that could be or could not be. The thing about it is I mean, that one impression, and then, of course, we scanned the area around and see no other impressions.
Yeah.
But when you find 2 or 3 places like that, I mean, like I said, it was a total of 3. We found the one with the sand, and then we found 2 other impressions on that creek that possibly could have been prints, could have been tracks.
Yeah.
But after we found those, we did start making our way through the through just kind of walking through the woods, making our way back to the road, and that's when I decided that I would do a tree knock early in the afternoon to see if we could get a response. And of course, I made a tree knock, and we didn't hear, of course, any response. And we continued we had made our way back to the road. And once we got back to the road, we kept going. The road forked. So we split the group. One group went one way, and one group went with the other, with the whole intentions of just looking for tree breaks,
right,
or tracks of any sort. And my group, as we reached the lake a lot quicker than the other guys did. They just walked straight to the lake and then ended up coming back up their road. When we got to the lake, I decided that I wanted to go out to the lake and walk the area around where it was real sandy to see if something may have just stepped off the hard soil onto some of that sandy soil, and see what we could find. Of course, we found no tracks in that, and we made our way through a wooded area, going to try to make our way back to the road. And as we were walking, we stumbled up on what we thought was a Bigfoot nest. But after we walked around, we saw that it was just a fallen tree that had a bunch of, snag in it. There was nothing, nothing had crawled under it. It was not disturbed. I mean, we ruled that out real quick. It was like, no, this tree just fell and it had a bunch of stuff, just a bunch of snags in it. This is not a nest. But standing back, looking at it, you're like, oh yes, man, look what we just found.
Yeah.
But, and we were just kind of, there's three of us, and as we were just kind of standing around, I thought I heard an owl. And I said, did y'all hear that owl? And he said, no. And I said, well, you know that they'll imitate an owl. I said, they'll imitate a lot of animals.
Oh, yeah.
I said, I'm gonna make an owl call back. And of course, as I started to make an owl call, a guy grabbed me by the arm and said, did you hear that? And I said, what? He said, I heard something. I said, let me make this call. So I made the call, and as soon as I made the call, within, I'm going to say 20 seconds, we heard a tree knock. And he said, that's what I heard. I said, so you heard two of those? And he said, yes, I heard two of those. I said, did it come from the same location? He said, yes, it came from the same general location. I can't be sure if it came from the exact location, but yes, it was that away, and that's where I heard that other one. So we stayed there for probably another 20 or 30 minutes just listening. And at this particular point in time, the two guys that were with me, I could tell that they were not expecting to hear this, and they were a little concerned and not necessarily scared, but they was like, let's go get the other guys, because us three out here, we go back to them, they've heard nothing. We over here, we've heard this. They're not going to believe us, that type of situation. So after we heard that and we heard nothing else, we made our way back to the road, and then we decided right then and there that everything would be done as a group. No more splitting up. Yeah. And I want to add this also. The direction of the tree knock come from completely opposite direction of where group number two was at. They were to our left. This came way to the right. So it couldn't have been them.
Yeah.
So we made our way back to the road, and at this particular point in time, we went back to the camper, and we decided we was going to send somebody just had to go to Walmart to get our provisionings, because we did not stop at Walmart to get anything to eat. Which is a good thing, because since the campground was closed, we were prepared to cook everything with electricity and gas. But now that there's no power, it's a good thing. So we went and bought, hot dogs, hamburgers, things we could cook over the open fire.
Right.
Now, it is twilight when they leave. Right. I mean, it's the sun is setting, everything's fine. There's three of us that is sitting around the campfire, which is not the same three that were in the group. It was me and two other guys. Mm-hmm. So we're just kind of, we got the fire going. It's starting to roll. Everything is good. We're just kind of sitting around, and it's been 30 to 45 minutes past since they've been gone. And, we're kind of saying, I'll be glad when they get back. I'm kind of hungry, and everybody's like, yeah, we hadn't eaten anything all day. I'll be glad. As we're sitting there, it's real quiet. That's when we heard another tree knock. I mean, the way that these tree knocks were happening is it was just, I don't know how to explain it, but, when you make a tree knock, you hear you can hear the actual sound that that whatever you're using makes, that,
oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But this sounds, this tree knock that's coming through the woods, it sounds like a rifle shot, because it just echoes through the woods, coming up to us. It's not just a thud and it stops. You can hear it, and it rings through the woods. It just keeps going. So we heard that tree knock. And of course, all three of us heard it. We said, "Hey, I heard that. That was very, 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 very loud, very distinctive." So the guys made it. I mean, we heard no other activity. They made it back, and we decided, we sit down for our hot dog and hamburger dinner. We cooked hamburgers and hot dogs, and It's probably going on about 8:30, 9 o'clock. And the guy says, is everybody ready? I asked him, I said, is everybody ready to go down this road and see if we can, see if we can hear anything or see anything? And everybody was like, yeah, I'm ready to go. And then just from my experience, this is what I told them. I said, as we go down this road, if you feel it necessary to turn your flashlight on just to see where you're going, do it quick. But I don't want everybody going down this road shining lights left and right up in the trees, just making a big commotion. I said, I want to keep it, I said, we walked this road today. There's one little area right down here that we're going to have a light on because it's muddy. But after that, we're good. We'll stay on the road. So we started to walk down the road, and we're walking, and we passed that area where it had the creek, and we just kept going. And as we're walking, I heard something. Of course, I was in the front, and I heard something. And I told everybody, I said, y'all be quiet. And we stood there for probably 10 minutes, and everybody was just listening. And to me, it sounded like I heard bipedal walking close to us. But I heard nothing for 10 minutes. I said, well, I guess it was nothing. I said, let's keep going. So we walked for probably another 4 minutes, and then to the right, to the right of us, walking down this road, we heard something large running towards us. I'm going to say probably 8 steps is what we heard, because it was just like choo, 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 and stopped. Now everybody was like, what is that? And I was, we started shining one flashlight over there, and then of course we was like, somebody else put a light over, see if you can see anything. We could not make anything out, and there was no other movement. We couldn't see anything. I said, look, everybody turn your flashlights off. I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to take a picture. Hopefully whatever it is will peek out when the lights are off, and I can catch it with a flash, maybe some eye shine. So the lights went off, and I snapped a picture. There was nothing in that picture. I snapped a second picture. Nothing. So I went to snap a third picture, and that's when we heard the walking on the left. And it was not any running. It was just basically, and it was getting louder as it got closer.
But you could tell it was bipedal and not.
Oh yes, yes,
okay.
Yes. And that was one of the things that I expressed to the group. I said, this is, keep in mind when you're searching, you want to search from the ground up to rule out a small animal. Don't just go straight and try to find something up. And I said, no. And the second thing is that this is not going to be normal eye level for you. You're used to looking at something in the 4 to 5 foot range. That's where your focal point is. You're going to have to look a lot higher, lot higher. I mean, and it's something that you're not used to. If you don't know to look that high, you could actually miss something because you're not used to, the human eye is not used to looking that high for something.
Right.
So I told him, I said, when we start looking for this, look from the ground up. I said, let's rule out in case it was a possum or if it was, some kind of small animal, let's rule it out. We could not rule it. We saw nothing, but yes, you could hear that it was bipedal because, and it was, to me, and of course, this is my interpretation, it just walked right up is what it done. There was no, it wasn't something that was searching for an acorn on the ground. It wasn't something that, just happened to be in the area and just, it walked towards us. Yeah. It didn't walk away. It walked towards us. And as it walked toward, like I said, as it walked towards us, the group had now, it was spread out across the road. Now they're all right behind me.
Yeah.
And just a little group. And these are grown men. And when I turned around, I told them, I said, hey, you guys, just be calm. They had I make a joke to them because every one of them had that look like, are you going to run? Because I'm fixing to run if you're going to run.
I'll go follow.
Because this is scaring me.
Yeah.
And
well, heck, it would out there in pitch dark like that. Heck, it will.
And So I told them, I said, what I'm going to do, I said, I'm going to talk, because if this is a deer or if it's a coyote, once I speak and in this loud voice, I said, it should scare whatever it is. If it's not what I'm thinking, it should scare it away.
Right.
So standing there on the road, I just yelled out, "Hello, my friend," and there was just silence. And of course, we had taken a jar of peanut butter, and I took the top off of the peanut butter, and I said, "We have brought you some peanut butter. Now, we're going to leave the peanut butter for you to enjoy." And I kept it off the whole entire time because I wanted possibly the smell of the peanut butter to go, to kind of radiate out. Because I did want to put the top back on, because that way if whatever got the peanut butter, if it had been taken, they would have to take the top off of it. It wouldn't just be, a raccoon knocked it over or something came and got it, because it was just easy accessible. And I'm just standing here talking the whole time I'm talking. I'm going to set it here for you. Please come get it, And of course, I took your advice, Jim, and I said, if you want to leave me something in return, that would be very, very nice.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So I set the peanut butter down. And at this particular point in time, I told the group, I said, look, let's just back out. I said, because there's two things on each side of us. Let's back out. As we started to back out, and I say back out, we all turned around and started to walk away. And as we turned, that's when we heard on the left-hand side of the road it start to walk again. And it was very loud. You could hear, at this point, when it first initially walked up, we just heard the crunch of the leaves.
Uh-huh. As
we turned around and started to walk away is when we heard the snapping twigs.
Yeah.
That's what made us stop in our tracks. I believe we may not, it may have, if it would have followed us, we may not have heard it if it wouldn't been for the loud crack that we heard. Because as we turned around and started to walk away, I'm going to say I took possibly 3 steps, and then I heard walking towards us. Yeah. We all kind of stopped again. And once again, the guys was like, man, I'm going to run if you're not going to run, because I'm fixing to run.
Yeah.
I told him, I said, y'all just calm down. I said, maybe it's trying to follow us, and maybe it'll follow us back to the camper. And so it shadowed us probably, I'm going to say 75 yards. And when I say 75 yards, I'm going to say it probably took an additional 20 steps in 3 to 5 step increments that we heard. Uh-huh. And it made it to almost to the creek area that was about 500 yards from our camp. That's how far that it actually followed. Yeah. Never heard anything else on the right-hand side. Never heard that, but did hear it on the left-hand side. So when we got past and heard that it didn't hear any more movement, we went on back to the camper. And we just kind of sit around and was really processing, because I wanted everybody's input on what they thought. Well, and I said, and I really stressed this, Jim and Dorothy. I stressed this so emphatically to them. I said, please do not be swayed by me or anybody else in the group. Tell me exactly what you thought. Right. If you thought it was some other kind of animal, please express that. Don't let me say, oh, that's 100% what it is, and you be swayed by that. Mm-hmm. Undeniable, unanimous, that it was bipedal walking.
Right.
That's what we came up to. No, we went over every animal that could possibly have been in that area, and we're all woodsmen, and none of those, I'm not going to say none of those could have fit the description, because I made this comment once before. If somebody said, well, could it have been an ostrich? Yes, I can't rule that out. I mean,
but where
I
are you going to get an ostrich in Alabama?
Exactly. And I mean, you can't 100% rule that out, but I can 99.9% sure rule that out.
Oh yeah.
But it was, we all said that whatever it was something walking towards us. We all agreed that we believe it was probably about between 25 and 50 yards inside the wood line to where we couldn't see it. That's what the sounds where it came to, what we were hearing was what we related it to, that it was somewhere in that vicinity. I believe if we'd have had a much bigger light, possibly like a spotlight, something that really could have beamed on in there, I believe we could have really got a good visual on what it was.
Pretty good look at him. Mm-hmm.
And like I told you guys before, I didn't necessarily feel threatened, but I can tell you that the air got really, really, really heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And please don't come any further.
Yeah.
As long as you're right here, you're good, but if you come any further, then I'm going to have to show you something.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to scream at you, or I'm going to do something. And I did feel that. So that's why we went no further than that. And that's also why we didn't stay out there any longer than we did.
Yeah,
right.
That's what I tell people from the times that Dorothy and I and some other people have been out. Whenever you get that feeling that that's the barrier, that's as far as you need to go, then you need to turn around because they're contacting you psychically or something to tell you that heck I don't want you here, So
right.
So okay. So that's what we try to do is when we get that feeling, or it's not that we try. It's any time that we get that feeling that it's time to go. Hey, we do exactly what you did.
Mm-hmm.
Sure do.
Mm-hmm. And it was the one of the strange things about that whole incident was the right-hand side to come running up like that. If you were walking down the road, and it's almost like I haven't, my father comes walking down that road, and I haven't seen him for years. Let me run up and give him a hug. Mm-hmm. That's the way that the right-hand side did. And when it stopped, it never moved again. That, to my knowledge, we didn't hear it or see it. But that is what stopped us in our tracks. That's what gave me that impression, Jim, was why would something come running towards me with such, with a purpose?
Yeah.
Why would it come running that? And it's almost like, if you're going towards something that's going to hurt you and somebody sees it, they're going to cut you off at the pass, so to speak. I believe that's what happened, and that's what gave me that feeling was like, whoa, they don't want us to go any further.
Mm-hmm.
But
there might have been something going on that they couldn't have control over either.
True. Very, very, very true.
There could have very possibly been some other type of danger that you were fixing to get into.
Yeah.
Like that you were going to fall in, or could be anything. Could be anything.
And I've always, and through my studies and finding this, by no means am I, a professional, but I've always heard also that they work in, kind of a military where you have your lookouts that are there to protect the main group. That alpha male hangs with the females and the younglings, and these sentries are put out there to keep you from coming any closer. And I thought, and when that happened, the first thing that popped in my mind was, we're close to the home pod, because these guys just came up here and said, nope, you're not going any further. And
far enough, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so. And of course, it could have been anything. But after we processed everything, and we went into the camper for the night. I'm going to say it's probably close to it's getting close to midnight. And one thing about the story that I forgot to mention, but I mentioned before, every one of us had the intentions of being able to plug up a camera or a phone to electrical outlet, but that was now gone. The only thing that we had was we had a pair of jumper cables that hooked to the battery of the camper so we could run lights. But that it would only run the lights. It wouldn't run any AC, outlet in the camper. There was only one phone charger for the guy who drove his truck. Everybody else had brought their electrical chargers, myself included. But so when we get back to the camper, we go inside the camper. I mean, it's still fresh on our minds, and then of course that's when everybody starts to go into the old Friday 13th. What happens if they drag me out of the window?
Yeah.
What do I do if a hand comes through this window? And of course,
whenever you're out there in pitch darkness, you think about all that. Now there's going to be a lot of people that say, "Oh, I'm not afraid of them" or anything. But when you're in pitch darkness and that there could be a Bigfoot out there, you think about that. What if a hand comes through this window? You really do.
Now my camper has 2 bunks in the back, and the guy that was on the top bunk was the most afraid because he says, "I'm eye level." He said, "I'm eye level." And I mean, it was a hilarious, a couple of hours because, the one guy on the back, he knocked his blinds down and he was like, "Oh my God, I knocked my blinds down. I can see perfectly outside." But once everybody fell asleep, and I say that, what I'd done was I told him, I said, y'all go ahead. I'm going to take first watch. I'm going to leave the light on. In case something if it's going to happen, it's going to happen here pretty quick. If they followed us up, nothing happened, and I mean, it was right around the 3 o'clock time frame. I heard something jiggle the door handle. Now on the camper door handle, it's just a flat handle that you reach your hands in and you pull, and it opens the door. Okay. When I heard that sound, it woke me up, and I thought, was I dreaming?
Yeah.
Was I dreaming that? And I heard it again, and it was just ching, 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 ching. And I looked over at one of the guys, and I said, "Brandon." He said, "Yeah." I said, "Listen, dude, something's messing with the door." And he woke up, and it happened the 3rd time. I'm going to say the 3rd time because obviously I wasn't dreaming the very first time. It happened the 3rd time. So he looked at me, and I looked at him, and he really asked me, he said, "What do we do?" And I said, "The door is locked." And he said, "Oh." And probably, I'm going to say a minute or 2 had passed. Then all of a sudden, the camper just shook one time. It just shook. And when it shook, I looked at him and he looked at me, and both of our mouths just kind of dropped open.
Yeah.
And I was telling him to look out the window, and he's like, "I'm not looking out the window." Because where he would have had to look, he would have been face to face. And he said, "I'm not looking at it." Yeah. Yes. He said, "I'm not looking out the window." I said, just pull it back. And he said, "No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it." Mm-hmm. So we sat there, and then, of course, he and I both heard the cooler. Yeah. We didn't hear it come open, but we did hear the lid slam. And then we had 2 styrofoam coolers, and we heard both of those lids hit the ground. I mean, they make that distinctive sound, and we heard both of those coolers, those lids, not at the same time. We heard one hit the ground, and then we heard another hit the ground. Mm-hmm. And we stayed, probably motionless for another 30 to 45 minutes, heard nothing, and then somewhere along the line, we nodded off and went to sleep for another hour or so. Yeah. Probably about, I'm going to say around 5:30, because it was still dark outside. It was still kind of, it wasn't necessary. You could see that the sun was coming up. It was still dark. Oh, yeah. One of the guys, they all started kind of getting up, and in a little small camper like that, when one person has to use the bathroom, well, you might as well all of you go, because you're not going to sleep. It's going to move. Oh, yeah. So we all started kind of getting up, and the guy that opened the door, I told him, I said, "When you get ready to go out there," I said, I told him to stop. I said, whoa, wait. I said, "Before you go out there, something come up to the camper last night, was messing with our coolers and messing with the door." And he was like, "Are you serious?" I said, "Yes, I'm very serious." I said, "When you go out, stand on the steps and look and see if you can see any kind of anything on the ground." Right. And I told him, I said, don't touch nothing." Of course, when that was said, That's when everybody started getting up and getting dressed because it was very interesting. So we all kind of came out and we went to the left, which would have been to the front of the camper, and everything was on the right-hand side, kind of middle ways of the camper where we had the coolers stacked up. Everybody went left, and we kind of circled around and was looking. And the interesting thing about the styrofoam coolers, I'll touch that first. The interesting thing about the styrofoam coolers is this. One of the tops was to the left of the cooler about 5 feet. The one cooler that was on the right, the top of it was almost all the way to the back of the cooler. And the reason why I say that is because wind direction could not blow those two cooler tops in opposite directions.
In opposite directions, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that some physicist or somebody could probably prove that it could, but it was like something opened that first cooler and just threw it to the left, and then something come from the back and pulled that cooler up and threw it to the right. I mean, we actually recreated that. I recreated it too. And I said it looks like something just bent here. And when I did that to the first cooler that was where the top was thrown to the left, when I bent over to take that cooler top off, you're not going to believe what happened. My right side hip, bumped the camper and shook it.
Oh,
that's exactly
that's how it
what
needed.
happened. That's exactly what
happened.
Yes. Because when I reached down to pick it up, I tried to pick it up with my left hand because I was going to toss it with my left hand. As soon as I grabbed the top and started to move left, my big rump hit the side of the camper and it shook. And I looked at Brandon and I said, "That's what hit the camper last night." And he firmly agreed. And then out of all the food that we had there, drinks and food, packs of hamburger, we had some lunch meat, some turkey and some ham.
Yeah.
Now, most of that was covered with ice, but the pack of hot dogs was sitting right on top in one of the styrofoam coolers, and it was a pack of 50. So I'm going to say there were probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 or 30 still left in the packet.
Yeah.
They were missing. And
all of them.
There was no sign of that pack, no sign of hot dogs on the ground or anything. It was just missing.
Okay. Because
we did kind of walk all the way around the camper. We walked around all the trucks. We walked around everywhere, and I kind of said, you guys, look for the smallest sign of a hot dog. If coyotes would have came up here or a raccoon would have came up here, I said, look for the smallest little piece of hot dog that you can find.
You would find the package somewhere anyway.
Yeah. Well, if it would have been, let's say if it had been a canine. A canine, of course, when he put his head into the cooler to get that packet out,
he would have got the ground beef, Well,
yeah, and he's gonna lose. I'm gonna say he's gonna lose at least one hot dog into the cooler.
Oh yeah.
An open pack of hot dogs.
Yeah.
And there's going to be one somewhere. I mean, and if you would have had a pack of hot dogs and say 3 or 4 coyotes, would you have not heard at least one of them? Maybe them arguing over, so to speak.
You would have heard a fight
over a hot dog. Yeah, you would have heard something. And I've been camping enough to know, that when raccoons do come in, I mean, they're real stealthy animals. But you would have found something, because there's no way that, in my opinion, that 1 or 2 raccoons could have ate 25 hot dogs.
Yeah, and
not leave some scraps.
And they would have probably turned that cooler over.
Yeah, they turned things over to get it.
There would have been so many on, like 2 or 3 that got on the side, and they'd have turned it over.
But the definitive thing out of every bit of that, even the bumping of the camper, is what raised that first cooler. It had a lid that when you push down, it doesn't necessarily lock. But, of course, it takes, a little bit of force to open it up. You know how coolers
kind of vapor locked.
I mean, it was it was an igloo cooler that, has wheels on it. So when you shut it down, I mean, it seats itself. It doesn't necessarily snap, but it seats itself. So when you pull it up, I mean, I'm not saying that any other animal couldn't have done it, because it's very well possible, but whatever
most likely
pulled
not.
it up and then slammed it down, that's, it would have to have raised that lid 3/4 to all the way up and then let it drop for it to make that noise.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's my experience when we were camping in Tuscaloosa in October that the Bigfoot did eat our hot dogs, but we had an igloo cooler that had the screw on top, and it took it off.
Well, I tried to make a plan to get back out there during the snowstorm that we had coming up here. Of course, I mean, I'm glad that didn't happen, because I'd probably just be getting home from there now, because that was a big mess. And I was actually going out there. I was going to go out there yesterday, but when I pulled up the radar, it was raining out there in Franklin County. I pulled it up, and they had heavy rain going on. So I was like, it's going to be a miserable night for me to go out there. I mean, I'd be soaking wet trying to get something, a tent or something put up. Yeah. But the plan is I mean, it's not necessarily on hold. The problem is trying to get everybody, trying to accommodate everybody's schedule to go out.
Get the ducks in a row.
Yeah. And I'm also to the point, and I'm sure, Dorothy, you and Jim may have experienced this too. I'm to the point now where I'd like help going out there. Somebody who knows more about it, or somebody that is experienced. I mean, I can continue to go out there, and I'm not saying that the excitement level is. They're not reaching my excitement level, and that's kind of making me mad, because I mean, I send them texts every day about, hey, let's make a parabolic mount. How do you set up your GoPro, for night vision? I have scoured. I have a pair of night vision goggles. Now, they're Gen 3 night vision goggles, but I have a pair somewhere in storage, and I have, if my wife ever sees that storage building, she's going to be mad at me, because I basically tore it apart trying to find just those goggles. Yes, so she's going to be mad. But I guess my experience level is I'm novice, maybe at best, and I would hate to ruin an opportunity.
What you have said, that heck, you are doing real good.
Well, I do appreciate that. That's a huge compliment coming from you guys. I mean, it really is. I just want to. I'm wanting to get into the field more and more, and as much as I can, because I want to understand. I want to understand them more. I want to understand them more, and I, for me to come into the group just kind of the way that I did. Let me say this, and emphatically, when I tell you this, I mean no harm whatsoever to this creature. I want to help preserve it. I should have stated that a long time ago when I first started talking to you, Jim, about this. But, I mean, you never know sometimes what kooks you can get in. You can get mixed
we
up
know.
We
had that incident on that last teleconference with some things, and then some members were really upset because we were talking about, this person wanted to kill it to prove it. We don't want to do that, but that attitude is out there, and you have to discuss it.
But hey, you have to answer them back when somebody says, "Well, I'm going to kill one." You have to say something back rather than, "I don't care what you do." I mean, heck, I'm not going to say that.
I would rather know that they did want to kill one. That way, I would not invite them to go with me.
Yeah. I mean, that is a very good point, and that's the intentions. That's where I'm at with it. Is that I know the group that I'm with would never,
Well, heck, that's what I was going to say is the people you're with, you have to know them, where they're not going to go back whenever you're not with them to try to kill one. Whenever they find out where they are.
Yeah, it's that's the one thing that I made sure that I am, I am selective about who I talk to. I don't just I just don't throw out my information to everybody, anybody, and everybody. I am real selective about who, and I've known these guys pretty much. For probably over 20 years, I've known these people, so I do trust their judgment and their integrity. None of the
we don't want to give a exact location of where you did this. Just like North Alabama mostly, and that way people can listen to it, and hopefully people that are really trying to become Bigfoot researching and that type of stuff can benefit from what you've told them tonight.
Right.
Because it was very good. What all y'all did out there. Sound like you done everything right.
Well, it could have been freak luck. They could have known right off the bat that these guys don't have a clue what they're doing, so they're not going to pose us any kind of threat.
I think they're like that sometimes. Yeah.
I would suggest that you find you a place that you feel like they're at, and that you feel like they're calling you. You know what I'm talking about, that feeling you get where you just know that that's where they're at. And just go every day if you can, or at least once a week if you can, and just go and sit and be there so that they'll get accommodated to you. They'll know that you're there and that they expect you to be there. And that's going to be your best way of actually seeing one.
See, I got a question to ask you. How do you, or Jim, either one of you guys can jump in on this. How do you go about? Let me give you an example rather than asking the question, because I won't phrase this right. What I'm thinking is that if they are there, and I know that they are, then the guy that runs that particular spot, he is there every day, so you know that he has had some kind of interaction, or he's got to have seen something. As many, the time that he's been there, because I remember back 5 years ago when we were at that campground. That guy that I was with, he asked the woman, had there been any kind of weird things or sightings of any kind of weird animals, and she did mention that they had seen a black panther. And I forgot, I remember this, but she said that they had seen a black panther there once before. She didn't say, a week ago or whatever. She said, yeah, we've seen a black panther here one time. And he was like, really? So, and my question being is, how sensitive would you be? How do you go about posing a question to somebody that you think should have some information? Because in my personal opinion, I'm thinking, if this guy is running this particular spot and he's out messing around with these things, and the many times that he's been here, he's had to have heard something or seen something. So how do you go about questioning him?
I would just go up to him and say, I'm interested in Bigfoot, and I know you are. Can you tell me a little bit about some of your experiences? Can you give me some insight into what you've seen? Just ask him. Just ask. Point blank ask.
Okay.
Yeah, I would try that.
Okay. Because I'm thinking that the next time that I go down there, and the campground should be opened, because it was closed because they were, and this is another thing that to add in there. It was closed for state required burning. So when we got there, right at the front of the camp, they had done a burn of the campground.
Okay. So this is what happened: is those Bigfoot had gathered in a certain area to get away from the fire.
And
probably that's possible.
They were wondering if I guess what you were going to do that night was to set the woods back on fire, possibly. That's another bad thing about it is like you don't never know whenever they're in a good mood or when they're in a bad mood. I mean, depending on what's happened to them, and that could have very possibly been why that one came up so fast to begin with. So he could have had on his mind, when if they're fixing to set the woods on fire right now, then heck, we're going to have to do something. You know.
Right.
Could have very possibly been.
Well, I'm in the process of getting, me I'm definitely trying to get me a field kit together. To include, some because I want to get some rubber gloves, some plastic gloves and some collecting Ziploc bags.
Just get some Ziploc bags and get you some. You can go to the Walmart and get the gloves like the nurses wear.
Yeah, the surgical gloves.
You can buy those over the counter there. Just buy you those. Make sure you get them big enough so that they won't pop when you put them on your hand.
And I'm going to try to get some plaster to go in that kit also.
Plaster would be good.
Because what I want to do is I want to have a field kit ready to go at a moment's notice, so that you carry a first aid kit in the back of your car because you never know when you're going to need it.
We carry a Bigfoot kit in the back of our car, so
yeah, that's what I want to get. I've got to get me a kit together, and
I have a Jeep Cherokee. And sometimes that's all I can do to get in it. I've got so much stuff in there, like plaster and flashlights and that type of stuff. I mean, just whatever I think I might need. And sometimes it can get in your way.
We actually, when we pick out a spot that we're going to be going every night for a while, we take chairs with us and just sit. We don't start a fire or anything. We just sit and
talk about whatever. And,
talk about things, and they will come up to you.
Well, my thing is, and I'll say this, is that I have yet to. I'm not going to say never. I have yet to actually see one, and I don't know if my poor old heart or my underwear could take it.
Yeah. The underwear might be in danger, but your heart would be fine.
I sure know the feeling, though. I sure do.
And it's not that it's not that I'm not saying that I'm afraid. I just know that day's coming, and I would much rather.
And you're in awe of it. You're in awe of it. You're not afraid. You're in awe.
Just be cautious.
You're exactly right. Oh, I would. That's the one thing that I will be is that I have to. I do say this is that I would treat it just like a wild animal, because it's it is in a sense, it is wild. I mean, it's very intelligent, but just because I see a pretty little deer out there, I'm not going to walk up to it and try to ride it. It's gonna, it will definitely can hurt you. And
healthy respect. That's what you got to have. Healthy respect.
That is, that's exactly it.
Have you seen Jim's latest video that we put on?
Which one is that?
It's the one with Clay County evidence and stuff. We just put it on this past week.
I probably haven't. Now I did go through I have seen your and Mary Kate's yours, and then I've seen the Mary Kate video. I've seen quite a few of the ghost videos, but no, I have to go back and watch that one.
I want you to go ahead and look at that, because we have had so many comments that people can see, so many of them around while Jim's out filming, and Jim can't see it because he can't see.
Speaking of which, how's your surgery? Did it go well?
Well, it went pretty well, but one of my eyes went back to bleeding after it was over with, so pretty well to where I can't see out of one of them right now, but he says it's supposed to get better, and which I'm hoping that it does.
Well, that's good. That's a good prognosis.
I've had a rough time with this stuff, and whenever you get to where you can't see, then I'm beginning to wonder if heck I should get out there as much, whenever I can't see out of that one eye.
But think about it, though. Look how close they come to you, because they're not afraid of you.
I actually think that because they are psychic, that they're picking up on that I can't see.
And when I take you home in a little while, if we hear that yelling again, we know they came to check on you.
Yeah. when we had the teleconference the other night, we walked out of the house and we could hear two, like off in the distance, doing howls.
Mm.
Just,
and my son heard it Friday when I was at work. He heard it. He had the headphones on, listening to music, and he heard it.
That's pretty loud.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That is definitely loud. Yeah, that's one other thing that I was going to tell you guys too. I'm taking an online course to speak Cherokee.
That I'm signed up for that too. So you inspired me to do that.
Okay.
I saw on your post about that. So I'm working on that too to try to get me some, to see if that works.
Yeah,
I'm sure that it will.
There's a YouTube site that has it, and will give you some phrases that you can say, like, what is your name? How many are you? You can tell them what your name is in Cherokee.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's a really good site. And then I've got the other information on the other one that's more in-depth that I'm going to start on when I have a minute.
I understand that. Time is crunch with myself too.
Yes.
I get on this last night. I mean, I don't know how long these conversations usually last, but Dorothy, you and I were talking about some of the stuff that happened over here at Lake Gunnersville, with that lady and her son being trapped in that tree stand.
Yeah.
Any of that that you guys need help on, and when I say that, whatever I have to do, I understand that the confidentiality thing with some of the people that write into the website. I mean, but anytime you need me to to scoot over to one of these locations, just let me know. Anything that happens in this North Alabama area.
There's a possibility that we could give you the information and you can go investigate it without even involving the person if we need to. Because
that was kind of one of the things that I was doing, that I was set up to do with this other group that I had gotten in with. There was nothing happened. It's just that I just didn't have. When it all panned out and everything was set to go, of course, job change. Well, not necessarily job change, but I took on a different role, and I didn't have the availability or the time to do it then. It was just too much of a crunch. It was taking, between work and family. I didn't have a moment to spare. It seemed like.
Yeah, I sure know how that is sometimes. It just.
Well, I definitely do.
You can tie all of your time up back in this if you just wanted to. And,
if we could just get a grant to pay us where we didn't have to work or anything, then we could go full time at Bigfoot.
Good. Yeah, and
actually could.
I talked to my father-in-law today. Well, my wife talked to him, and he said that remember I was telling you about that incident that happened up in the Cherokee National Forest. It was up in Butler. He was telling me that was in the Elizabethton Star newspaper, January the 15th. He said that it just his wife said it walked right in front of that window, and was just looking on the porch at some puppies, and then just walked on away. And I got all the details from her. Hopefully, when we take a vacation to go see them, maybe in the summer or later. I hate to go out there because there are bears that are roaming around up there. He has bears that come into. He has bears that comes into his yard on a frequent basis, and we don't know much about bears down here.
Well, there are some bears around here too, if you didn't know it.
Well, I've
seen the big one.
Tales. I've seen the alligators. I haven't seen the bear. I have seen the alligators up here.
Yeah.
I saw one when we were over at Horseshoe Bend Park. In the park.
An alligator or a bear?
A bear. A big brown one. Wow.
Yeah, and I mean, so you have things, such as bear that people would say, oh, they're not here. we don't have bears here, but yet you see, you have sightings of them. I mean, I know I can remember back 20 years ago. If you told me anything about an armadillo, I'd tell you you'd have to go to Texas to find one of those.
You're right. And
I got one out here in my yard. It's been digging holes for the last 3 or 4 nights. I'm gonna have to take that possum on a half shell and do something with it now.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. You don't have to go to Australia to see a dingo either. You can come down here to Zana.
Really? Zana's just full of all kind of mysteries, isn't it?
There is one loose out there. I saw it, and I'm like, it looks like a greyhound with a Chihuahua head. I got to go find out what that is, and it's a dingo.
I'm just wondering if somebody had him and now they have turned him loose. You just wonder about it.
Yeah, those
anyway,
exotic animals.
We'll let you go tonight. I sure do appreciate you taking time to tell us.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much.
And we'll step and put it on. Sure
I will get it on just as soon as possible.
Well, thank you so much, and y'all have my number. Call me or email me anything that you need me to do, or
okay, all right.
I'll keep you informed on everything.
We can help you with. We do the best we can. We're not 100% perfect doing everything, but hey, we'll tell you what we've done.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'll do, and I'll keep you. Hopefully, in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to get back out there, and I'll have some good pictures for you guys to.
Okay.
I'll shoot them over to you.
Yeah.
All right. Now we are having a teleconference on Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to call
at 8:30.
I'm going to try to call in. I have 2 boys playing high school baseball, and I think they have games Tuesday night. But they may be done by the time 8:30 rolls around.
Yeah, okay.
And if it's really boring, I'll just call while I'm out there and just listen to you guys. I'll go sit in the car.
All right.
All right.
Well, okay, that was his report from a expedition that he and some friends went on, and there were some very interesting things happened that night to him, and some things that I can relate with. We've been in some of the same situations. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me say, as I always do, that Alabama Bigfoot Society is run completely out of pocket. If you can make a donation of any type, we would appreciate it very much. You can always get in touch with us through the Contact Us page if you would like to know things that we need, and would, like I said, very much appreciate. If you do make a donation to the society, then we'll send you a free 1-year complimentary membership to the Alabama Bigfoot Society. And as always, we would be glad to have you as a member. With that being said, I would like to tell you to be sure to watch for the next Alabama adventure, Getting Close to Bigfoot.